On the 20th of November 1944, Wellington Bomber MF-509 crashed into Carreg Goch in the Black Mountains, Wales, whilst on a nighttime cross-country exercise. The aircraft developed a problem with its starboard engine. It began to lose height due to icing and crashed into the mountain, killing all 6 aircrew who were on board. In the local village of Iniswen, Eric Price, who was 22 years of age at the time, saw a fiery glow in the mountains.
You could see it was on fire, and you could see it plane shining up, you know. That's how I come across that. I knew there was a plane up there. Yeah.
A few days later, Mr. Price went to the scene of the crash.
I found this photo, and I've kept it in my album since 1944.
The photograph has been with him for the past 62 years. Since the crash, local people have visited the site and erected a memorial to the men who lost their lives. The crash site was nearly removed a number of years ago, when a private individual from Preston in England tried to buy the aircraft and put it in his back garden. This was thwarted by Mr. Ardwell Michael, who worked for the Brecon Beacons Park.
But we also campaigned back in 1998 that there was a request by an individual from Preston to remove much of this aircraft there to his backyard in Preston, and at that time, fortunately, I was in a position where I could muster support from members within the national park and also with local councils to make sure that this wasn't being removed here, because it is a war grave as far as we are concerned, and it is part of our heritage now and part of our folklore.
Recently, Mr. Price asked his relatives if they could trace who the airman in the photograph was and try to trace the families of the crew.
And Damien then was on the internet, and he asked me, Eric, have you got the photo? Yes, man, I'll have that now, he said, and I'll find out things about it, like. And he got in touch with Caroline, my granddaughter then, and the two of them worked together. And this is what it's all about.
With the help of Wes Cross and McGill University, Montreal, Canada, some relatives of the deceased airman have been traced, including Mrs. Phyllis Allison Burns, sister of one of the airmen, Flying Officer William Allison. Phyllis Allison was due to visit Wales to visit the site of the crash, but due to illness was unable to make the trip. Wes Cross attended as her representative and that of the other families, and met local people who had an interest in the site. They met at Danny Rogoff Caves and set off on the 4-mile strenuous walk to the site, while en route Ardwell Michael spoke of the many and varied points of local interest. The scene of the crash is thought-provoking, and Wes, at his first viewing, reflected on the scene before him and what had happened on that sad night. Wes then addressed the group and carried out commemorative tasks to the wishes of the relatives in Canada.
So we've written to the Canadian government and suggested that this also be identified. I'm not sure what that does, but it may provide some money in the future to stabilize the site, or if the memorial needs to be replaced. I don't think it does. It's beautiful the way it is. But at some point in the future, it might also help if they decide to remove the wreckage or change it in some way, that maybe the Canadian government could also be involved in that discussion to help out people to maintain it. But we're going to leave this here for future people who walk by, and it's easy to replace. We just reprint it. but it says in honor of the crew of MS 509, the 13,348 RCAF personnel who lost their lives during World War II. This was 6 of the 13,348, and 1 of 8 people who died in the RCAF died in training accidents. And that's a particularly hard thing for families. You know, at the time it's always hard to lose a son or a daughter, but when it's lost in this manner in training, it's really hard to take, it's hard to understand. But inside, and I'll pass this around so you can have a look at it. A photo of the crew, which is there, they're all identified. This is all on the website as well too. And then the famous photo that Eric Price, Caroline's grandfather, found on this site in 1944, which 61 years caused a lot of disruption and wonderful trouble, if I can call it that. And then we've got some information. Some of it's taken from the webpage or the bulletins that Caroline started, and others from other sources, more about the background of the plane, the 22 OTU, the Operational Training Unit it came from, some information on the bomber itself. And this is the latest photo we've just added today. This is the navigator. And I hasten to say the accident was not navigational error. But that was him from his niece who lives in Montreal. She just contacted me the day I was leaving, so I haven't had a chance to meet with her, but at least she got the phone call in.
A book containing a comprehensive description of events and photographs of the crew were left at the memorial site. Artifacts left on site included a prayer stone.
But the sweetgrass represents material that's used to any celebration or marking a passing or an event. The tobacco is to assist the person on into the next life as a comfort, and the prayer stone obviously contains prayers of the family.
A service was held, and an audio recording of the Jewish prayer, spoken by Phyllis Allison Burns for her brother Bill, and all the other crew who lost their lives on that sad night.
In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. In the glowing of the wind and in the chill of the winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick of heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us, as we remember them.
The sacrifice of these brave Canadian airmen and many of their comrades will be remembered with sincere gratitude by generations of Welsh people who today benefit from the freedom ensured by these brave aircrew.
We regard these people as honorary Welshmen because they were over here to defend us during the war, and you know, what can you say about it? It's emotional, and it's well, it's respect to these people.